So, really, the only big name that we haven't talked about yet is going to more lean into the Chargers now. Joey Bosa. Chargers basically having the first-round pick after the two quarterbacks. They're at pick number 3. They've got their choice. They're going to get their guy. Whether it's right or wrong, they're going to get their guy. Tom Telesco is going to get his guy. Now, this is kind of one of those picks where this is your job is riding on this pick.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yes, there's all the uncertainty of, the future of the franchise. But as far as the future of the football product, the on-the-field product, this pick is really important to Tom Telesco. He's going to get his guy. Now, Ronnie Stanley had a lot of, really, the day before the draft, it was book it. Ronnie Stanley going to San Diego.
Out of nowhere.
Then 12:20 p.m. No, it's not happening. Fox Sports, they dug in.
Yeah, because everybody was like, damn, are you serious? If he's your guy, that's, not, I don't agree with it, but if that's your guy, trade down. You'll get him at 7 or 8.
Exactly. Yep.
Get another pick.
We talked about the 49ers being level with Buckner, who was the guy I wanted at 3. You talk about the 49ers and Chargers just making a little swap there, and the Chargers picking up a 3rd-round pick, and they stuck at 3.
Yeah, stuck at 3. So you're thinking, wow. I would have loved to have Ramsey. I think that guy was the best player in the draft. I think he's gonna have a hell of a career.
Mm-hmm.
I don't not like the Bosa move. I think he'll be a good defensive lineman. He's getting J.J. Watt comparisons. Let's slow down on that. But I don't know.
We'll see what happens.
Anybody got any thoughts on that?
So to put it in context too, earlier on, Joey Bosa
all
was
about
mentioned.
Context.
I know. Gosh.
Curtis is context.
Context.
Curtis.
Bosa was mentioned early in the draft months ago, and I think he was forgotten by a lot of Chargers mock picks as they realized he didn't fit our 3-4 system, if you will. He's kind of thrown on the side. And so Buckner was mentioned, Tunzel, Ramsey, and then, of course, the day of, we have Stanley mentioned for whatever reason. But me and Kendrick both were on the Buckner. We wanted Buckner. He seemed to fit well. Big guy out of Pac-12, out of Oregon. And I was shocked with the Bosa pick. I personally liked it. Didn't love it, didn't hate it, but I liked it. And I'm excited to see what he can do. He has quick hands, and he's definitely a run stopper, which the Chargers have struggled with very much so in the past year. So I think he could be potentially great. And Pagano seems to have a plan, so I'm excited for Bosa.
Yeah, it seems like one of those decisions that won't get Telesco fired. You couldn't really go wrong, but I think Stanley at 3 might have been wrong.
Definitely.
People were going to riot if that was the pick he made. You had your choice, but they wanted Tunsil. Stanley's not even in the conversation if Tunsil isn't Laramie Tunsil. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because talent-wise, I don't even think you can compare the two.
Mm-hmm.
Tunsil's clearly going to be the better. Physically, on the field, we don't know how long his career is going to last. We don't know how many games he's going to get suspended and all that. And then, of course, Miles Jack was in there. But I was, Ramsey, I did like Buckner. I hate Oregon, so I couldn't really pull for him. But Buckner, Ramsey, and then Bosa, who a while ago was like, oh, that's who the Chargers really like. Mm-hmm. And then you kind of heard those rumors kind of fade away. Yep. And then just kind of out of nowhere, you're like, oh, Bosa.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I think we just kind of forgot about him. Because I think after those combine numbers came out, and while they were low for a defensive lineman after the studs that were there, I think we forgot about those guys were role players. Joey Bosa was truly one of the stars of that Ohio State defense. Mm-hmm. And they did their research. Tom Telesco had a 45-minute conversation with Urban Meyer. Just wanted to be like, how do we use this guy? How can we utilize this guy in our defense? And you talk about how at first they were saying he's going to be outside linebacker. That doesn't really fit because you have Jerry Atauchu and you have Melvin Ingram in there. And so plug him in a defensive end, but use him as a rover. I heard a lot of keys saying that when a team had a weak center, they put Joey a defensive tackle and they just let him roll that center the entire game. These are weaknesses that he can do and utilize, and he's going to learn a lot. And I think the thing that I keep telling everyone is I got to see it to believe it. I really think when you talk about a guy that we're comparing to J.J. Watt, it's because J.J. Watt is a true rover. J.J. Watt plays tight end and fullback for the Texans because he's a true rover. Wherever he is, wherever he lines up, he's going to be a beast. And that's a potential that the Chargers can absolutely use. Half of that would be incredible when we have Mebe in there and Corey Liuget there. And, you can go look on Bull Banter's YouTube because Curtis and I recorded our reactions to it. And I'm absolutely heated about it in that moment. The famous line that everyone talks about in the comments is where I go at the end, I'm like, what have they done?
What have they done?
So you didn't like it?
I hated it at first.
Hated it.
Hated
I was
it.
shocked
And
he didn't like it.
I've very much cooled off on it, thinking about it from an X's and O's perspective.
Yeah, so you're
and
warming up to it a little bit.
Yeah, so like I would give, if I graded it, I'd give it a B just because Joey Bosa is a stud. He was a stud in college. And it's one of those things where can he translate it to the pro level? I think Telesco did his homework on him, thinks that he can, thinks that we can utilize him, and now we just go out there and see what happens. On paper, we drafted the number 1 guy in the draft. Scouts Inc. said he had a rating of 99. Like, that's one thing people haven't talked about. On paper, from all these figures that analytics gave us, the Chargers drafted the best player in the draft.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
And let's see how it happens.
I think, as far as like, who's a miss and who's a bust, it's so tough to say like who's going to be a can't miss player, like Joey Bosa. You can't miss. Well, you never know. I mean, the guy hasn't played a snap in the NFL, and we've seen it time and time again where the translation from college to NFL, I mean, it is just so much faster. The guys are so much stronger. They're so much bigger. It's just it is a different game. So you never really know how it's going to work out. I mean, I am not going to call Melvin Gordon a bust, but a lot of people were, quick to say that he was a bust. He didn't have a great year, but he also didn't have a whole lot to work with. And I mean, I think he's still got a lot of potential. I think if he has another year like last year or another 2 years like last year, then it's time to be like, okay. But, he's been on record saying like, yeah, the game was it was tough to catch up to it. I mean, he's not saying he can't do it, but I don't know. The last couple of years that I've really been following the Chargers more often, I don't know how any running back could truly succeed, just any one running back in their system. I mean, they're a pass-heavy team with Rivers. Like, why wouldn't you be? But they run, like, they're rotating, like, 4 different guys in the backfield, so it's kind of tough to get one guy going. He's not an every down back. We don't have one, so I think he still could be, but it's just interesting. I mean, we had, everybody said Melvin Gordon was going to be a great running back in the NFL. He didn't really amount to squat last year. So it's just going to be interesting to see how they go through OTAs, preseason, and then see how he starts adjusting to these offensive linemen in the NFL.
Having Ken Wisenhunt is huge. Kenrick and I talked about it months before the season ended, where you can see a difference in terms of our offense from when Wiz was here in 2013 to where he left. And I think he has a scheme and a plan to fix this whole Gordon issue and run game issue.
If Ryan Matthews could have 1,300 yards and 6 touchdowns behind an offensive line that was not stable, imagine all Chargers' offensive line that Telesco believes in, that he built last year, that hasn't been out there at 100%, and then a young Melvin Gordon with Wisenhunt just calling the right plays. Like, you talk about what was the Chargers' offense last year? A lot of the plays, Phillip was making those calls. And he kind of just went over to Frank Reich and he went over to McCoy and he was like, hey, what are we going to do here? And they were all just kind of like, let's do this. Let's see what happens. And Wisenhunt's a guy, he'll have a game plan day one, a great offensive coordinator. A lot of people will forget that. He went to the Super Bowl, took the Cardinals to the Super Bowl against the Steelers and almost won it.
Sure.
He's a Super Bowl caliber coach, and I think he's going to do a lot for the offense.
Rivers is just like, give me the damn clipboard. I got this. Like, I know what I'm doing.
Where's Charlie Whitehurst with that clipboard?
Yes, clipboard Jesus. Okay, so I mean, anybody got any last thoughts on Bosa? I mean, I think we kind of hit it.
I think we covered it all.
Covered it all, yeah.
So good, not great pick.
Yeah,
or great pick. I mean, you seemed like
you
said you were pissed, and then all of a sudden that ends with we got the number 99. We got the number
exactly
1 player
right.
in the draft,
It's very easy to spin it, and it's very easy to take it around, and that's why I just feel like I'm spinning a basketball on my finger, like with the opinions. Like, the words I keep saying are "see it to believe it," because I gotta see it on the field, and I gotta see that the kid did his homework. So that's what we're looking at.
We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I thought it was a good pick, and the more I've watched and just looked at his highlights more, I get more excited to see what could happen. Yeah, we'll see.
So that kind of wraps up the first round. I mean, did we miss any Eli Apple going to the Giants?
The Big Apple.
The Big Apple. Eli squared. No, I mean, there's really not a whole lot else to talk about from the first round. So I'm going to kind of let you guys take over. I mean, I feel like I've been doing a lot of the talking. Like, how do you guys want to do this? I mean, I just go pick by pick. I mean, I'm not going to have a whole lot to say on,
Well, it'll be interesting to hear your analysis then as we get later on, because a lot of these guys are steals. And if you look at NFL.com right now, the Chargers draft picks spike as it's going up. B+ for Joey Bosa, A for day 2, A+ for day 3. Tom Telesco did his homework overall in this draft.
Totally. Well, let's start with number 2.
Yeah, number 2. All right, so 35 pick overall, Hunter Henry, tight end out of Arkansas. Basically, the number 1 tight end in the draft.
Right. Huge need.
Yeah. He didn't drop a ball once last year.
167 for 167.
That's disgusting.
And he's quick. I've seen his high school videos, highlights, and college. He runs routes quickly, efficiently, and he holds on that ball. Magical catches.
The guy that everyone talks about that I see in him is Jason Witten.
Jason
Witten has been such a stud for Tony Romo.
Seen Greg Olsen too.
His blanket. Yeah, and you think about those two guys and what he can do.
Those are pretty good names.
The strength that those guys don't have that Hunter Henry brings to the table is in run blocking.
Yeah.
We picked up Jeff Cumberland to be a run blocker. Hunter Henry is a receiver and a run blocker. And to shadow Antonio Gates, one of the great tight ends to ever play this game, maybe behind Tony Gonzalez, arguably above Tony Gonzalez, maybe later on. And it's just because Gates hasn't been there in the postseason. Gates hasn't been there to contend for a Super Bowl. And Hunter Henry is going to learn so much from him. And in a year where we lose Ladarius Green, to get the number 1 tight end in the draft.
Huge.
It's another one of those surprises where it's like, oh, yeah, like why didn't we think about him in mocks? Absolutely.
No, totally. I mean, losing Green was big because, look, this has got to be Gates' last year, right? I mean, maybe 2 more years. But you're not going to get 2 great years out of him. You might get a 1 okay year, and then you're going to get his last year. Yeah. So I think you hit the nail on the head to have a guy, the number 1 tight end. I mean, that, it may not have been a need this year, but it still was a need because you are going to need somebody to learn the system. Who better to learn from than Phillip Rivers and Antonio Gates?
Legend.
So you shadow Gates for a year, and then he'll be the guy. I mean, God, you pair him up with some of those receivers that we have now. It's going to be a pretty awesome passing game. I just wish Rivers was like 5 years younger to enjoy these guys, but it'll be interesting to see. But, I mean, they definitely hit on a need. I wanted Myles Jack at that spot.
Yeah,
but when I saw Henry, I'm like, okay, I see where they're going there, and I'm okay with that. I'm more than okay with that.
Yeah, it seems passing on Jack, Telesco really stayed focused on filling needs and not getting too tempted by people that are available.
Right. I mean, early in the second round, you can still get some quality players, so you don't have to think, you can wait till later in the draft. You're like, all right, best athlete, best available. Whoever is the best, number 1 up there, that's who we'll take. Early second round, 35th overall, I mean, you can still attack your draft board, pick out your needs. It's still early enough to do that.
And their draft reads like a fantasy football Excel spreadsheet where you have your favorites highlighted, and it's like Telesco got all of his favorites. He got all the guys that he did his homework on. And when you're moving into the third round now, center Max Tuerk out of USC, a guy who, right when the pick happened, the first thing we hear is this guy's recovering from an ACL injury. So it's like, why'd you take him? And as you get farther into interviews, hearing more from him in his recovery, he might be 100% at the earliest by July. He might be 80% through his recovery right now. And Max Tuerk is huge. Max Tuerk is massive. I heard someone tell me that you guys drafted a center that looks like a starting tight end in the NFL. And to me, that's like, oh, hey, like this guy's going to be massive. And a lot of people talked about my center that I wanted was Ryan Kelly, and the Colts stole him in the first round. And Max Tuerk was right around there in the top 3 of centers, as it was talked about. And he was overlooked because of the ACL injury. So I think because the Chargers know that they can treat this guy, he's gonna compete for that starting job. And I think Max will be the starter for the Chargers at center.
Week 1 this year.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised. Watt last year seemed to be a big question mark. Center definitely need to be addressed. A lot of fans, vocalize that. The cool thing about Tuerk too is he started for 3+ years at USC, so he has experience. Starting a huge program, big school, but also he's played 4 of the 5 positions at O-line. He's moved around,
right?
Which is something that Chargers always need. It seems
Gotta
like
have
now
some versatile players
nowadays with linemen dropping left and right. So
and last year can't happen again, right?
I hope
they
not.
cannot get bit by the injury bug as bad as they were last year. I mean, that line
was a freak of
gone.
nature. That was a freak of nature.
Vikings game, the whole O-line went down. It was insane.
So I mean, I don't know. What do you think he does really? What do you think he's going to bring to the offensive line of the Chargers? Is he going to be the center? Is he going to be somebody that they kind of rotate around and they're going to stick with
Watt?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. You know what I mean? Is Watt going to be on the way out? What's going to happen here? I mean, he's still a rookie coming in. He's still going to have a lot to learn. He's got to get that chemistry with Rivers. I didn't play. I wasn't a franchise quarterback at any point in my life, so I don't know the chemistry between a center and a quarterback. But I imagine there's got to be something there. I mean, what do you guys think about any of that? I think
Watt started at guard, had to be moved to center. Tuerk has been at center, and that's where he'll be for the Chargers.
I think Tuerk is a center. I think Watt will be a roving guard in a rotation just in case anything happens to Orlando Franklin or DJ Fluker. And then I think Trevor Robinson is the true backup center there.
Yeah.
And I think the statement that Telesco makes with Max Tuerk is he is an O-line that can rove just in case. Mm-hmm. Just in case. Max Tuerk can play tackle also. You could have Chris Watt go and play center, and Tuerk could go over and play right tackle. So you think about that, he's got versatility to him. And it'll be interesting to see how they use him and where those pieces fall into play just based on how those coaches see his strength.
Right. Oh, man, I had something and I lost it. Never mind.
We can move to the next pick if that works.
Tell me about Josh Perry.
All right, so Ohio State.
The Ohio State University.
The Ohio State, Curtis, get it right.
Sorry, the Ohio State University. Joshua Perry, linebacker. Bosa spoke highly about him. Great leader. He's known to stop the run just like Bosa, and he's coming from the Ohio State championship team, so you got to be stoked on that. He could. It's tough right now because we are dense in young, fresh, and talented linebackers, but he could contribute a lot to this team and could start over certain linebackers depending how things fall later on in this franchise's seasons.
I think that he's the third guy because a lot of people forgot. It kind of got slid under the rug. Donald Butler's not here anymore.
Right.
It's just Denzel Perryman and Manti Te'o. And I think a steal like Josh Perry, I'm kind of reliving the music with Denzel Perryman's pick last year. When Denzel Perryman got picked, my analysis of it was, he's the third guy behind Donald Butler and Manti Te'o, and he's the starting linebacker of this team.
Right.
And so a guy like Josh Perry,
never know,
right there behind Manti Te'o and Denzel Perryman, that is a great rotation. And the biggest thing is, look at what that does for Joey Bosa. These guys could be roommates in training camp. These guys could be working together. I think that's the biggest thing is that these two are really going to pick up each other as rookies, and they're really going to lift up this defense.
Right. That's something that doesn't show up on the stats, the chemistry that they're going to have day one walking into training camp. I think with Manti Te'o, he had a pretty decent year when he was on the field. He's still going to play a full 16-game season. Yeah. But he was improving, but he's still, he's not playing at the level that he wants to be at and where the Chargers want to be at. Not going to call him a bust. He's contributed, but I think there's still a lot of room for growth there.
Definitely.
But he's also, year 3, he's going to be getting on thin ice here eventually. Yep. I think adding some depth there in the third round is going to help.
Give a guy like Josh Perry a shot. Mm-hmm. If Manti Te'o's foot doesn't hold up, that has plagued him his career.
Right.
Slide Josh Perry in there, let him and Denzel Perryman see what they can do.
That kind of happened to Butler. He was young, started after a while, and then last year, honestly, tanked. Yeah. He didn't have a great year. And letting go of him was a good decision. But, if you can't stick around and can't prove yourself, the next guy's there to take your spot. Just how it goes.
So he was the inside linebacker that they took. Then they went back-to-back linebackers. Mm-hmm. Got a kid out of Akron.
3 hours and 15 minutes, though.
So
what
long.
The page will not show you. They could have watched all of Godfather in the time it took them.
Yes.
And they took 2 linebackers. But
what do we know about him?
We took an outside linebacker, Jett Brown, out of Akron. And the word everyone uses about this guy is athletic freak.
Yeah.
Mel Kiper said he is one of the great steals of this draft. And the impact that I like for the Chargers is in special teams play. They're talking about this guy could go out day one and be a stinger on kickoff.
Just start
think about special teams. When was the last time we had a great guy on special teams? Kasim Osgood, maybe? And Jett Brown is just an athlete. And the crazy thing is, right away, Telesco was like, we're going to go try him out at strong safety. We're going to see what he can do. This guy was the defensive player of the year in the MAC at Akron University. Mm-hmm. So we drafted an absolute athlete. We're going to go try him out at strong safety, see what he can do there, because outside linebacker is pretty set, but he can slide there. And I think the biggest thing is we took a true special teams guy, but has the potential to play a role on the defense.
What we're hearing from Telesco is that it looks like he's going to safety. He is great at rushing the quarterback. He's quick, and in college he's been known for covering really well. And it's just amazing to see how Telesco, the way he responds to certain picks, it's like he got the picks he planned for, and he has a scheme for them. It's really amazing that it ended up unfolding how it did. You had a guy that played linebacker, and he's talking about safety just from – he's also, I guess, a little more slim or, not as heavy as a linebacker, so they're saying that he has the build of a safety as well to go along with that. So very awesome.
That's why he's like a true speed fox. That's why we talk about that special teams impact. Jett Brown is a true speed linebacker, chase after your guy. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they can do with him, like a true project.
I'm excited for it.
So now I want to talk about just the kind of the package, the two of them together. What do you guys grade this? 'Cause, I mean, sounds like you guys are pretty high on the picks. Josh Perry, and then athletic freak in Brown. Was linebacker a position of need in your guys' eyes heading into the draft, or do you think that was kind of like, hey, they're there, let's take them? I mean, we haven't done this before. We haven't done a crosstalk, so I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think of? I think we all kind of like what we're seeing from Perriman. What about Manti Te'o? Was this a need? And I mean, what do you guys really think of those picks? Not just the picks themselves, but the type of pick they were. The positions that they went with.
Like we were saying, Te'o and Perryman are really the two guys there, and behind that was kind of we'll see. I think linebacker was a need. Perry will definitely be designated as a linebacker. I think the undertone of Brown is that he's a safety. Even though he's listed as a linebacker, Telesco seems to be set on him as a safety. And a lot of people kept asking after the draft, we didn't draft a safety. And you heard about Cravens and obviously Ramsey and Jack being a safety.
Right. So I was going to say, it's like Jett Brown's like a poor man's Miles Jack.
Exactly.
Or the Raiders are really hyping up Carl Joseph. They're calling him the hitman right now. Chargers fans were scared of him for 2 days. And a lot of people talk about we didn't address safety, but we did. And we kind of did it in secret, which is the most fascinating thing.
In secret, for sure.
All right, let's move on to their next pick, a position that I don't know has ever caused as much waves with a franchise.
It's true.
The punter.
Yeah,
what
punter.
What could a freaking punter, what kind of waves could they cause with a franchise?
It's the old adage, you don't know what it's got till it's gone.
Right.
Mike Cyphers, a lot of Charger fans hated on him last season.
They did.
Saying he was old, that
for him.
He was getting hit too much. And, Mike Cyphers he looked gassed. We punted so much last season. And we drafted Drew Kaiser out of Texas A&M, and I've watched a lot of Texas A&M football. My dad's an Aggie. I've seen them, and when Curtis was like, "Hey, we drafted a punter," I'm like, "I know this guy. This guy shattered Shane Leckler's records. Shane Leckler,
and I know who Shane Leckler is.
Maybe the greatest punter ever in NFL history, ever. The guy who John Gruden says would take footballs from the stands in Denver and punt them into the parking lot.
Yeah."
We drafted a guy who shattered that guy's records. Shattered them. Texas A&M's field position for their defense that they had was a lot of credit to do to Drew Kaiser. I love this guy. I love this guy as a punter. And the great thing that Telesco did, showing why he's a great GM, he called Mike Cyphers right before the pick.
Yes.
And was hey, we have loved you. We have loved everything you've done for our franchise. Thank you. You are the greatest punter in Chargers history. And we're going to draft a new punter, and the future's going to happen. You're going to be released. Yeah. And it is so classy.
Yep,
you heard Phillip Rivers talking about it today, how much he's loved Mike Cyphers and the things he's done for our team. I love him because I never truly paid attention to a punter until Shane Leckler and Mike Cyphers were dueling it out there for years.
It's not – I don't know. It's tough to say goodbye to a guy that's been there for so long, but he kind of knew it was coming. It's awesome that they had – the common courtesy, I guess, too. Just say, look, man, we don't want you hearing from anybody else. Here's where we're at. Doesn't really make it hurt any less as fans, but future's bright at that position.
And he was obviously very, very highly ranked. He was the number one punter on everyone's bored. But I think it's interesting. Telesco shows he had a plan again. You know, he didn't cut Cypher's end of last season. He knew, hey, we're probably going punter in the draft. Let's wait till before and say our goodbyes. But shout out to Cyphers. He really did make a difference, kind of under the radar for the Chargers for many years.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we've said it several times. Telesco really did his homework. He had a hell of a draft.
Mm-hmm.
We should talk. There's, I think, a few notes we can make on their next pick, Derek Watt.
Definitely.
Chris Watt's brother? What? No, J.J. Watt.
Wait, what?
J.J. Watt's brother. What are we going to do with him? Out of Wisconsin, fullback. I don't think the most significant part about him is that he's a Watt. I think the most significant thing about this pick was that he is so close with Melvin Gordon.
They were roommates as freshmen.
Roommates. The guy that he's going to be leading the charge for.
Mm-hmm.
Pun intended with the charge. You guys will learn if
a
we
little
do this
bit
in
of
the future.
wattage to the charge.
Yes,
wattage.
I'm all for good puns like that. I think it's huge.
Huge.
I don't know. I haven't seen a second of film on him. I don't know anything about him. I'm hoping you guys have, and you can tell me a little bit about him. But I think just the chemistry and what that is going to bring, I think that's a good pick, right? I saw it now, and I should start with, I saw a lot of hate for that pick on Twitter. Why?
Can I start with something real
quick?
Yeah,
go for it.
Kendrick and I have talked about the end of last year, like, who's our fullback? I don't know. And the moment we drafted a fullback, I was like, dude, we did it. We have a fullback. We drafted a fullback. And he's from Wisconsin. And he played with Gordon. Is Telesco a genius or what? What?
I mean, with what Woodhead did last year in the backfield, like, look, you can almost write off Gordon as a redshirt, rookie coming into this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to have plenty of fresh tread on the tire. I don't even know how much he's going to play this year, but eventually those are going to be the two featured backs in your backfield.
Mm-hmm.
Him, Watt at fullback, Gordon at tailback, and eventually those guys are going to be on the field a lot at the same time. I think there's something to this pick.
Yeah, I think a lot of the hatred that you talked about was because the only fullback anyone talked about was Glenn Gronkowski, baby Gronk.
Right.
And the Buffalo Bills drafted him, and no one was really talking about a fullback. And when I was reading on Bleacher Report, it just sounded like a blogger who was tired at the NFL draft. He gave them a D. He said, not as good as baby Gronk. Don't know why you drafted a fullback. There's better fullbacks that will go undrafted. Excuse me? Like, did you see the things the Chargers were saying? Melvin Gordon texted him right away. Hey, we're back.
We're back.
We're back. And you want to know the highlights where I've seen him in? I watched a Melvin Gordon highlight video, and I saw his fullback crack down on a linebacker 3 times to get him in open field.
Yeah.
Hello. Come on now. That's the kind of impact
I saw him
he
going
can
out for
make.
passes, too, in a lot of the highlights as
I like
well.
that.
It's good stuff.
Look,
30 passes for 309 yards last season.
There you go.
All the people that were so pissed about that pick, it's like, shut the hell up. Like you really knew a bunch of other guys. This was pick 198, all right? You didn't have anybody on your board. You're like, oh, man, here we go, 6th round.
They're trying to find
Time
something to complain about because Telesco's, he killed it the whole time. They're like, oh, this one's kind of questionable. Let's complain.
Oh, whatever.
Even though it's not really questionable.
Donovan Clark wrapping up the Chargers draft. I mean, anything on that one?
He started for years for Michigan State. I found it hard to find any highlight videos, but if anyone has one, throw it my way.
I think if you watch Connor Cook highlight videos, you see Donovan Clark making a couple saves there for him.
There you go.
And
Good
that's
point.
where I think he makes impact. 10 games at right guard, 4 games at right tackle. I think that when we talked about Telesco didn't address right tackle, once again, he addressed tackle very secretly. He drafted another guard, and he can play tackle, and let's see where we can place him at.
Totally. I don't know how long you guys usually go. We're approaching an hour, and I think that'd probably be a good time to kind of wrap it up.
For sure.
Let's give him a grade for the draft as a whole. We've kind of talked individual grades for individual picks. As a whole, I mean, the Chargers are getting a lot of praise. Let's just go around, a little round table action here. What's your grade for this draft, 2016 for the Chargers?
I think their draft is a B. I think it's overall. We drafted great guys on paper, but how those guys play in person, you have to see it to believe.
I'm going to go with B+, but you may see that turn into an A- based upon the way that Telesco has certain players in mind for something better.
I like that. I was gonna go B+ as well. We're all kind of right in the same boat because look, as far as potential, they nailed this draft.
Nailed it.
They hit on just about every pick for potential. At the end of the day, that's all we have is potential. Yeah, None of these guys has played a single down. You know, they're still getting fitted for their jerseys. They have not played a down in the NFL. You don't really know. And I guess that's kind of a cop-out. You can say that for every pick. So it's like, well, who the hell gets an A then? Well, Jacksonville kind of, if I'm going to grade other teams, Jacksonville gets an A, maybe an A-.
Jacksonville and Tennessee have completely changed their team
Absolutely.
in 3 days. Yep. And the Chargers loaded up on potential, and they rebuilded. And another team that got an A in the AFC West is the Chiefs. Because the Chiefs very silently loaded up at every position they need to load up at.
And Denver's probably up there. I don't know. I don't know the rest of their draft, but just Paxton Lynch alone could have made that.
And the Raiders built up on their little free agency package.
It's going to be a tough division.
Yeah.
It really is.
Wild West.
It's crazy to think about how the Chargers had maybe one of their best overall drafts ever in Telesco's regime.
It's still going to be tight.
The Chiefs and Raiders and Broncos absolutely loaded up, maybe even better than he did.
Yeah. God, it's crazy. It's going to be exciting. Going to be fun seeing how the guys start to mesh and getting to work here with OTAs. Training camps right around the corner. So, I mean, we'll kind of wrap it up here one more time. I mean, I'm Paul Reindl. You guys are Bolt Banter, Reindl Report, little crossover. How can my 3 followers get connected with you guys?
Please just check out our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter at Bolt Banter. We're on Facebook as well, trying to grow the Facebook followers. And we're on SoundCloud, iTunes. And that's really it, guys.
And Snapchat.
Oh, yeah.
Snapchat.
Wow. Snapchat.
Newly added.
Changing the game.
Yeah.
Very new also. You can find us on patreon.com where you can find out more about how Bolt Banter is looking to expand into editorial work.
Yes.
And you can also find them on Pinterest if where they put all their Chargers arts and crafts.
MySpace too.
No judgment.
Yeah. So awesome. Definitely, we'll pump that out. Your guys' listeners, I think you have a lot more followers like on Twitter than I do.
Yeah, so where can they find you?
They can find me. I don't really look. I used when I was as KCR. I had a Reindl Report Twitter account. I think it's still out there. I don't use it anymore. I was sick of managing multiple accounts. So I'm just, from my personal account, it's the Pauler Bear SD. That's PAULARBEAR SD, the Pauler Bear SD. And then the ReindlReport.blogspot.com. And I'll put all this, I'm sure you guys will too. We'll put in the info on the website, on YouTube and whatever else this makes it out to. But REINDL is how you spell my name. So the ReindlReport.blogspot.com. That's where all that's going to get posted. Both of our websites. Guys, I had a ton of fun doing this. It's
so fun.
Successful crosstalk.
Absolutely.
It's like 2 radio shows coming together for their first hour.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Absolutely. I mean, I mentioned it in the beginning. I could have probably done a little bit better at mentioning it throughout. This was obviously pre-recorded. This was not live, and this was recorded on May 2nd. It's now May 3rd, but it started on May 2nd, Monday, just a couple of days after the 2016 NFL Draft. So that's where our timestamp is. It is now definitely May 3rd. It's well into the 12 o'clock, the midnight hour. So I think we should probably wrap it up and get out of here. But guys, this was awesome.
Yeah, so great fun, show.
This is all right.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Whether you're from Bolt Banter, whether you're from the Reindl Report, however you found us, I think I can speak for everybody when I say thank you for listening. For Curtis, for Kendrick, I'm Paul Reindl. Thanks for listening in, guys.